When I was 16, I lost my virginity. It was literally to the boy next door. I regretted it immediately afterwards. It was one of those things you do when you're young for all the wrong reasons. 15 is young, but by that age, most of my friends had already lost their virginity. I found it so awkward to be sitting with them while they all talked about going all the way, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they wanted to try next. It sucked to just sit there in silence, dying for the conversation to switch tracks, or trying desperately to come up with some way I could change the topic without making it obvious how excruciating it was to be me in that moment. All my friends had boyfriends, so of course, when we went out, I was the only one going solo. Walking behind pairs of couples holding hands does a lot for the self-esteem. It's not like I even wanted a boyfriend or to go all the way. I just wanted to fit in and be cool. I tried my best to tell myself that it didn't matter and that it would happen for me when the time was right. I tried not to care, not to feel less than, but the more I was around my horn dog friends, the more I just wanted to get losing my virginity over with. In our circle of friends, there were a lot of guy friends, so I started to consider each one as a potential option. I didn't like any of them, but that hardly seemed important. There was Marcus, my long-haired hippie guy friend. He was probably the sweetest out of the lot of them. He was so kind to everyone he met. He knew all names of all the janitors who worked at the school. He wasn't exactly super smart, but I think that may have been on account of all the pot he smoked. He was on the quiet side, but he was quick to laugh, and I loved that about him. Moving on down the line, there was Bill, a super tall musician with a big afro. He was nice enough, but there was no chemistry between us, so he was a definite no. Jason was the obvious choice. He was super cute and kind, and I had known him since junior high. Truth be told, all the girls liked him, so I felt like the competition might be a little stiff with him. Next up was Mark. I had also known him since junior high, and we had more of a bicker kind of friendship. We loved to burn each other, and that was kind of our thing. The thought of getting naked with him, though, yeah, definitely not. He was also too short, really short. And as I was super tall, the whole thing just seemed way too awkward. Then there was Jeremy. I knew he had a crush on me. He was pretty obvious about it, and his friends all told me too. He was the clear frontrunner, but knowing that he had feelings for me made me hesitate. What if he got way more into me than I was into him? I didn't want to mess up our friendship, but I had to admit I was intrigued. He was cute, clean, clearly liked me, and in the end, he was the best choice. I decided that I would talk to him about it beforehand and be as clear and upfront as I could be. We were walking home from school one day together when I brought it up. I asked him if he had lost his virginity yet, and he said no. He told me about all the other things he had done, which was pretty much everything other than the big deed, and was way more than I had done. I had kissed a guy for an entirety of 20 seconds at a party once on a dare. So now knowing how experienced he was in other areas was making me a little nervous. On the other hand, though, it was nice that he had some experience, since it would be both of our first times. I asked him if he was curious about going all the way, and he said he was, and getting more curious as all his friends could talk about little else. We bonded over that and how awkward it was to have to sit there through those conversations with nothing to contribute. We laughed about that. I awkwardly cleared my throat and plunged forward. "I was wondering if you might be interested in going all the way with me," I said. He stopped dead in his tracks and said, "Are you serious? I've asked you out twice and you've said no both times. Why now?" "Well, that's just it," I said. "I don't know that I necessarily want to be boyfriend and girlfriend. I just know I don't want to be a virgin anymore. If those feelings come up, they come up. But if they don't, would you be okay with us just doing that and staying friends after?" He looked a little disappointed, but said that he would take what he could get. I definitely got the picture that he was playing the long game and saw this as his big opportunity to win my heart. So we decided that we would be each other's firsts. It wasn't the most romantic thing in the world to plan it out to the last detail, but it was definitely more appealing than doing it with some random guy I didn't know or trust. We hung out as we normally did and waited for the big day to arrive. We had decided on a day my parents were going out so we could have the place to ourselves. I also was on my period when we first discussed it, so I wanted to wait till that was long gone. When the day arrived, I couldn't help but laugh at how sweet and romantic Jeremy was being. I opened the door to him standing there with flowers and a huge bag of supplies. He asked where I wanted to do it, and I said my bedroom was the best spot. He asked if he could have some time in there alone before I came in, and I said of course. Truth be told, from the moment I opened that door, I could feel my heart racing. When I went up 10 minutes later, he had totally set the scene. The flowers were in a vase next to the bed. Lighting was low, candles were flickering, and soft music was playing. There were even rose petals strewn around the room. We got right down to business, and the whole thing was over in less than 10 minutes. It hurt a little more than I thought, but other than that, it was pretty much what I expected. I was happy that I had done it. So after that, we continued on with our friendship, and that's where we stayed, friends. A year later, I met the love of my life. I ended up marrying him, but there was an obstacle in our way. He was a strict Catholic who didn't believe in sex before marriage. I had told him I was a virgin, so I was in trouble. All my friends said he would never know the difference, but I knew, and that was enough. I started researching hymen restoration surgery and found out it was pretty common and was a simple day surgery. I started saving up the money so when I turned 18 and didn't need my parents' permission, I could secretly go in, have the surgery, and be a virgin for my guy on our wedding night. On my 18th birthday, I booked the surgery. It was set for 2 weeks later, and I was so happy that I could get a fresh start. I regretted being so casual with my virginity and just giving it away for the sake of it now. But that's hindsight, of course. It's not like I knew I'd meet and fall for a guy who believed in waiting till marriage. I guess I should have been honest with him, but I was just too scared of losing him and cared too much what he thought of me. I found out everything I needed about the surgery and arranged for Jeremy to drop me off and pick me up afterwards. He was the only one I trusted enough to tell, and he was there for me as he always had been. On the way to the hospital on the big day, Jeremy asked me if I was really sure, and I told him I was. I felt kind of bad to be undoing what we had done together, but I knew he understood. He was dating a girl too that he thought was the one, and he said he would do pretty much anything for her too. I was checked in, prepped for surgery, and wheeled in a half hour early. When I woke up, I felt groggy and sore, but other than that, completely fine. A week later was a different story though. I had started cramping the day after, but the doctor had told me to expect that, so I didn't think much of it. A few days later though, I was in a lot of pain and could barely walk. I was also feeling really faint and feverish. When I almost fainted at school, Jeremy loaded me into his car and took me to emergency. As it turned out, I had gotten a bad infection and I was spiking a fever. I was given IV antibiotics to try and get it under control and had to spend the night at the hospital. I phoned my parents and told them I was sleeping over at a friend's. Jeremy stayed with me the whole night, sleeping on a tiny little cot next to my hospital bed. I woke up feeling way better. I had been told the antibiotics would work really quickly, but I was still shocked at how much more normal I felt in just a day. I was given some antibiotic pills to take with me and told to take every one, even if I felt totally better. I thanked Jeremy and gave him a huge hug. He was such a good friend. Not only had he kept my secret and our secret, he had ditched his girlfriend so he could stay overnight in the hospital, and I knew he was risking her wrath. When I talked to Jeff that night, he said he was worried about me and that I hadn't seemed myself lately. I told him I had a little stomach bug, but would be right as rain in a day or two, and I was. Thank goodness Jeremy had insisted on taking me to the hospital before the infection got worse. When we all graduated from high school 2 weeks later, Jeff asked me to marry him. I said yes through a haze of tears. I instantly felt so happy for the decision I had made to become a virgin again. I really felt like Jeff was my first and not Jeremy. On our wedding night, we could experience that moment together, and I would never have to feel weird or unexperienced again. Jeff and I have been married for 3 years now, have a beautiful little son, and plan on having many more. My advice to anyone thinking of doing what I did would be to really think about it. No matter how much you just want to be like everyone else, waiting for that special person is worth it. To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.